Hi and hello, watch fans, and welcome to another edition of the Real-Time Show from Villa Sarasan for the Time to Watches event in Geneva 2025. Today I am joined by Sebastian from Albishorn. We did have a nice long chat yesterday about the pieces. We all got to go hands-on with what's been and what will be coming soon, and it's very exciting. This is one of the most interesting brands that's been founded in the last couple of years, because it openly has been founded in the last couple of years, and it has been founded to play a particular role in the industry, and that is looking back on what would have happened if Albishorn had been founded decades prior. So, Sebastian, give us a bit of a rundown of what we're looking at here.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me somehow again. I think there's quite some things to say. Yeah, so the brand is actually here to make the episodes we all missed and we would have loved to see from probably famous films or series we all loved. So the idea is to add some chapter to the history without taking it too seriously either. Not that we have the impression of being, but we want to do something which is vintage somehow inspired, but it's not a reproduction, it's not a reissue, and adding a bit the quirky ones, member of the family probably, the less standard ones, the ones they wouldn't produce at the time probably because they wouldn't have been probably that popular. But we feel the need of adding this chapter to the history. So it's a great fun because we don't claim of any history because we don't have any. So it's very interesting because having none of your own, you own actually the entire history in the sense of I don't have to look into any archives. I don't have any. So basically, I would say I play with a full repertoire of the Swiss watchmaking industry. Obviously, also a bit of wider ones because we're not the only one in the world making watches. So it's also a very liberating aspect of creation because you're not bound by any DNA. So we are open to a lot of styles which we are attracted to. We still try to build up a brand DNA by having the pusher on the left side, having a big mono pusher for the time being always in red. So we try still to approach that like a brand in the sense of having DNA within the scope, but still having a big variety of products. Going from the 30s up to the 70s, we even change the logo as we would have done in the 60s, or we go very far. We move from the Fab Swiss in the 40s to the Swiss made, so we even follow the legislation, so the applicable laws of the time. So we really take it seriously somehow, but always a bit with a smile on our face. But still, we love history. We are into watches. I can say that's that way. And so we want to play with both the design, but also the historical aspect and the evolution of watchmaking, but still trying to be a brand in a sense of not just having products where you would say they're not related by any means. So it's why we focused on chronograph because it's also my personal passion. And so we still have a few things where we also strongly believe in creating a brand identity. So it's, the bezel is one part of it, being concave, the big mono pusher in red aluminum, the positioning of the crown, which is systematically on the left side of the case. These are a few parts which we take over the years, and we imagine these people having found that at the time, they would have probably kept it and make it some evolution. So you will see when we go in the 60s, 70s, it will change, but you will still see that it's an Albishorn. So these are little things. Obviously, it's not like the watch is round, it's thin. So we also keeping the vintage dimensions, like 39 on the case and the bigger bezel, depending on the model. We also change the size. So yeah, and then we also work on the movements to have different layouts in the chronograph field. We are a bit all used to have bicompacts, tricompacts. Even if the name should be unicompacts and bicompacts, it's another story. So it's something stolen from Universal Genève. I mean, the terminology. We try to have, depending on the collection, or dashboard-alike counters on the bottom of the dial, or having retrogrades for the regatta versions, and you will see other chronograph displays over time at Albishorn.
So I've been thinking a lot, actually, about you, your brand, the 1 hour episode we've recorded. Maybe it's up online already. If not, please stay tuned. We sat down for a lovely chat in this igloo without the mics on because we were not running on time schedule-wise. And we had a lovely chat. And I've been thinking about that. Something that lingered with me. You're a perfect guy, and maybe the best, to revive an old brand. A lot do it. A lot succeed at doing it, whatever the KPI of success is. For most, it's how much turnover can you create.
Mm-hmm.
And the purists are in the pursuit of keeping it as original as it can be compared to the pieces made in the past, the vintage pieces. We also touched upon that topic. But before I go there, my big question to you is, will you have another watch brand? Not start. I don't want to use the word start. Do you see yourself as a brand owner of more watch brands?
Well, not several one, but I'm working indeed on something high end in the sense of haute horlogerie with a handmade movement with an own escapement inside, which is totally opposite. It will be a separate brand. I do it with a watchmaker friend, and it will be contemporary watchmaking. You said you like titanium before, so yeah, you will like it. Very contemporary, very 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 neat and minimalistic design, but packed with technique. But still very different from Albishorn in the sense of very contemporary, made of sapphire and titanium, and very lean design. So yeah, I have many ideas. I have one with Albishorn, which is very clear in my mind, something I was playing with a lot. What you said I can very relate to, because I had the chance back in the days to buy Angelus, a brand I collect and love very much actually. And I was very much criticized at the time because we didn't do any re-edition. I mean, we had some in the making, but at the time we came up with something very modern and skeletonized. We had the U10, which was a Dieter Rams kind of inspiration, square watch. The thing is, when you have a brand like Angelus, when you think of it, why did I start collecting and really have over 100 Angelus watches still today and clocks and everything? I bought it because they were always doing the thing first. They're the first series produced chronograph with date. So I'm not talking about perpetual calendar at Patek Philippe. Then they had the Chronodato. They had the first big date ever. They patented the big date with 2 discs. Then they had the first chronograph with that. They had the first automatic chiming watch with the Tinkler. And actually, when you look at the brand and you say, I love it because they have always been first, it's also probably what killed the brand actually, because it was always one step ahead and probably not in the right timing. It's very hard to take it and actually reproduce what these guys did, because you will never live up to the Stolz brother. Honestly, you can't. To be honest, even at their school pocket watches, these guys were crazy. They were running also Le Phare, so these were bigger than life. So basically, when you love something and you reproduce it, and then, of course, if you do a Chronodato today, it will cost 20 to 30K. So basically, the most lovers of the brand will say, "You are thanks very much, but I can still find a Chronodato from the time, which was already 38 in diameter, so it's a big, good size." For 3K, why would I need a re-edition of it? So yeah, historical brands are wonderful, but there might be a burden as well, because you have to live up to what they did. And if you love a brand because they were innovative, and basically your concept is to live on the innovation from the days, it gets somehow a bit, it's a bit of a contradiction. So yeah, so it was just to finish the thing, was very fun being myself. I consider myself as being quite an Angelus collector. I wrote the history of the brand. And then getting criticized, but actually exactly the same as me on the opposite side. So basically talking a bit to your mirror collector, and I understood the criticism, but on the other hand, I didn't feel right. Let's put it like blend. If you had to do a Chronodato today, I would love to do one. I'm not working at Angelus anymore, but it obviously would have need to be different. It would have to have a new layout with at least an annual calendar with a huge big date. You have to take the concept and bring it much further. You cannot just take a little existing movement and put it in and say it's an Angelus manufacture. If you have that brand, you are obliged to really put some means and you really have to take it seriously. Like, you have to imagine, what is a Chronodato of today?
Interesting. You gave me a perfect segue. Let me do a sidestep. You as a collector, historian, do you buy re-editions, modern re-editions of maybe watches you have as original vintage pieces?
None.
Why?
Well, for many reasons, because like most of people, you would like to chase a real thing. And I would say most of these, they didn't catch the spirit, they didn't catch the proportion right, the thickness and everything. Obviously, they're wearable. They're probably more waterproof. Most of them less radioactive. If you're into some sport watch from the 40s and you have the Geiger counter, sometimes you get sweaty when you put it on, and I did it a lot to test. And yeah, that's another story. So no, basically not. I'm a big Longines fan. The certain Selen is a masterpiece of chronographs. It's unmatched. Maybe the datograph, but still, it's a crazy. It would not cross my mind to buy any kind of re-editions. Then we can maybe fight a bit about, is a reversal re-edition? I would say no. And I own modern days reversal, which I prefer to the old ones I have because I really...
What do you call it? A continuation then? A continuation?
More continuation of some kind. Yeah, but maybe I'm wrong saying that. So I made a bit of a artificial separation between watches I consider like a 911 Porsche, which has been produced over and over again. So they're quite close to original, but they have an evolution. And watches which are really targeted to be a one-off re-edition of a model.
So what's on the cards next now? Are we up to the 70s? We're up to the 70s, up to the 80s with Albishorn.
No, we're not going to the 80s yet, but it's interesting fact because neo vintage would be fun. I'm not sure that like our watches are full of hints, and I would say it takes a certain time that they get really appreciated. I had the discussion because I bought recently some of the first chronomat release with the Valjo 7050.
Okay.
And we also kind of hated the layout of the, because the counter at 12 o'clock is not the best position. You have the day and the date. It's very dated somehow but I'm getting into these. I'm buying also a IWC Flieger from the time with Tritium. And I think we are not there yet, but it would be fun at some point. Now we are stopping in the 70s right now. So we start from the 30s, we go to the 70s. So for the time being, we are going from the 30s, the Maxigraph. Then we have the 40s. It was the Type 10, so the ancestor of the Type 20. We went to the Thundergraph from the 50s, and the next is the 60s. It will be obviously a kind of a regatta diver chronograph. Also, a category which never existed is the marriage of a skin diver, a regatta, and a tide indication, which is a pretty fun mix, but quite useful if you are at the sea. And also a genre which never existed, so we said it needs to exist at least for one watch. And then we go a bit further in the 70s, and then we probably will go back to the 20s. So It's not that we would just go where we have a roadmap. It pretty much depends also if people like our watches, because we mainly do them also for other mind-like people, also a lot for ourselves, but still we need to make a few. We'll see how it goes. For so far, it has been going very well, but you never know. And so the idea is going back first to the 70s, but also to go back at some point and adding stuff in the 30s and then 20s. 20s, there are also a lot of things to do, I think.
So will you change the logo again as you go back in time? Yeah. I love that you do this.
Yes, I know. So you could see in my imaginary chronology when we change. And so from the very, very beginning, was Kay would change the thing. And it was funny because friends saw the prototypes because I had these two logos from the very beginning. I registered the two logos. And they said, look, you have a non-existing brand and you start already, you're not even launched of changing the logo. I say, yeah, but if you want to play the game of period correctness, at some point someone would have come and said, your old logo is boring. In the 60s, you need something fresh. So we did something fresh, different.
This is fresh. This is different. Every single watch that you've ever put in my hands has just blown me away. The finishing is not to be slept on. It's incredible. Like the little quirks. I'm a huge fan of the red pusher on the left-hand side of the case. I think that's just brilliant. It feels authentic. It feels like something that you just wouldn't get today. And yet this is entirely today.
And the interesting thing is I have the luck to have an ancient Sideograph from Longines, the navigation tool, which is quite big, like a ship chronometer on my desk. And a lot of people said, no, but they didn't use aluminium. On that thing, I have red and blue for setting the sidereal time and everything. And they already used anodized aluminium because it was the only way at the time to get colored something on the metal, or unless painting, but they didn't. And so you can distinguish the blue from the red when you set the thing.
That's incredible.
So you find stuff from the period. Even Vacheron Constantin, during the Second World War, the entire watches in aluminium, including the base plate, including the dial and the hands and the case. But the entire movement is in aluminium.
I mean, I loved what you said right at the top of the show, saying that you have the entirety of watchmaking's history at your disposal.
Yeah.
And so you actually get to look back through the past and not just bring us beautiful products, but also bring us an insight into an era that's long gone that we have obviously all neglected to research as thoroughly as you have. Sebastian, once again, I find myself thinking I could sit here and talk to you for 3 hours, or just honestly just listen to you. I could just turn off the mic and just let you talk, because it is an incredible journey through time and manifested in these beautiful, beautiful watches. If you've not seen Albishorn watches in person, get yourself, to an event, I suppose, is the best place to see them in hand.
Absolutely. If you're in Switzerland, I'm always very happy to show them. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but I only sell online. In a sense, I'm not in retail. But yeah, on shows and...
Well, you can't be in retail with price points like this with quality.
That is the thing. It was conceived also from the margin point of view as to be direct, and I cannot change it in the way things are now.
So just tell our listeners, what are the prices that they can pay?
First we have to know that most of our production is also COSC certified, Swiss made obviously. It starts ex VAT at 3,650 and goes up to 4,150.
Okay, check out these watches. What's the website address?
It is albishorn/watches.ch.
Okay, so that's www.albishorn.ch.
Not the shortest, not the simplest, but yeah.
You're not going to mistake it for anything else. Sebastian, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks.
So, Alon, it's tough to know where to begin with what I think for us both has been the revelation of the past couple of months. You've had Albishorn on your radar a lot longer than I did. You introduced me to the brand. Were it not for you, I may still be living in ignorance, unfortunately. But as it is, I am fully awake and aware of what I now believe to be one of the most exciting brands run by one of the most engaging and enthusiastic individuals I've had the pleasure to meet in my long career, Sébastien Charmontet, who is a Renaissance man, to say the very least. So where do we begin?
Let's begin with the fact that whatever he created was already mind-boggling, because he's creating chapters, fiction in history books and reimagining what if. So he's creating watches that never existed, and he thinks they should exist in certain chapters of watchmaking history. He even evolves the logos according to the time he thinks those watches should have been created. Now we've interviewed him and we were blown away, not only by his track record, because he's a legal man, he's an engineer, he has PhDs, he has patents on his name. He worked for watch manufacturers or caliber manufacturers. He started this as a passion project. Now, my expectations were extremely high meeting him. Well, he surpassed them. He's a force to be reckoned with, the speed he thinks and talks. He goes deep. He's all about facts, but also emotions. And, well, you and I discussed this beforehand, and we kind of discussed it with him, that we're thinking of creating like a series within the Real-Time show with him as the swing host, and, well, call it masterclass in not only chronographs, which is his passion. He loves chronographs and he collects chronographs, but we can take it wider with him, looking at watchmaking history. And we could do a second series with him just on IP, so intellectual property within watchmaking. So uber interesting and fascinating. We addressed this topic briefly in the recap of the Herin, Lebois & Co. episode. So one of the first ones in the Time to Watches series that we did. Yeah, well, I don't even know where to end this, Rob, or to start. So I'll just kick the mic to you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a beginning, not an ending. This is a great connection to have made, a good friend to have accrued along the way, and someone I really can't wait to work with more. And absolutely getting him on the show as a swing host with his extreme experience would be a real coup. And it's going to happen, basically. I mean, he was very keen on it, on the idea of it when we talked about it when we were having a drink in the Grand Duke, actually. I think that was the night that I decided, after I'd finished all the recordings, I was going to have a pint, and I went out with Sebastian, and it was absolutely brilliant and great conversation and really good company, and someone who I'm sure you'll all get to know a lot better in the coming months and years as we collaborate on lots of exciting projects together. So stay tuned and let us know if you've got any questions for him. You can really pick his brains about anything. Get in touch via the usual channels, either via our emails, Rob or Alon at therealtime.show, or via our dedicated Instagram handle, therealtime.show.